Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, this comes as no surprise to anybody, but it is somewhat disappointing. It comes as no surprise because if you're a Nigerian, it shouldn't come as a surprise to you. Anywhere and everywhere in the world, you mentioned that you're Nigerian and the first association that they would make is with this headline now, is to do with fraud. That's just the go-to thing that people think as soon as you introduce yourself as a Nigerian. So you recoil from that, of course, you being an honest man. But do they have good reasons for them to make that leap of assumption that just because you are Nigerian, you're a fraudster? So do they have good reasons to make that leap of assumption? But they do make that leap of assumption. Globally, the Nigerian and fraud are so intertwined that the global community are even aware of the statute books in Nigeria. Let me share with you, before I go to the body of the story that I'm about to bring you, let me share with you the Urban Dictionary. This may come as a surprise to you. So this is the Urban Dictionary that speaks to common parlance usage of language. So languages that are being used commonly globally, their interpretation they put in the Urban Dictionary. So Nigeria has a section, but how is Nigeria introduced in the Urban Dictionary? So this is it. So there it is right there. So you can see at the top there, it wouldn't allow me to highlight it, but if you look at where my cursor is there, Urban Dictionary, you can go look it up as well. Oh, so I've skipped past it. So let me go back one. So let me scroll up again, and there it is. So let me do the cursor again. So that's the Urban Dictionary there. And right very first thing being introduced, 419. So they have 419 in the Urban Dictionary. That is how pervasive Nigerian fraud is and the association of the Nigerian person with fraud is. The Urban Dictionary even has a definition for 419. So it says the name 419 actually said as 419 derives from the section of the Nigerian law that con artistry and fraud comes under, hence the association with Nigerians. So the association with Nigerians of the essentially Nigerians being fraudster is so pervasive that the statute that punishes fraud within the Nigerian legal system is actually common parlance internationally as a reference point to Nigerians. So you recoil from that, but do they have good reason, as I said, to make that leap of assumption? The data coming out from America suggests that they might have good reason. So let me not waste too much more time and let's just get into it straight away. So let me share the screen with you so you see where I am reading from. So here it is right here. Let me just share that and let me make sure that it is sharing. So it is sharing. So now let me now scroll to the top so that you can see the headline. So there it is right there. It says over half of Nigerians in our prisons jailed for fraud. And it is not some random person saying this. It is not somebody envious of Nigerians. It is the United States government. So this is raw data. It's not he said, she said. It's not them say, them say. Over half of Nigerians in our prisons jailed for fraud are US government. So that is quite specific of all of the criminalities. So not pickpocketing, by the way, not armed robbery, not a heist, or it's a form of heist, but it is not a violent attack, not a sexual attack, not anything. Over half just fraud. This is what they are saying. So then you see then why they point in a direction almost immediately as soon as you introduce yourself. Over half of Nigerians in our prisons jailed for fraud, US government. So let's see now how they back this up. The United States Bureau of Prison has disclosed that half the number of Nigerians in its correctional facilities had been convicted and sentenced for fraud. In response to a Freedom of Information Act request by correspondents, out of the 134 Nigerians currently in US prisons, those convicted for fraud comprise 61.67% of the total number of Nigerians in US prison. We receive the inquiries every day from people who have been defrauded for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars by internet contacts they thought were their friends or loved ones, said the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria. Internet scam. So let me just pause there for a moment. So just from the first, the opening phase of the thing, it looks as though these are actually Nigerian-based frauds, not Nigerians in diaspora frauds. But let's continue, and then we see if that is actually what it is. We receive inquiries every day from people who have been defrauded for hundreds and sometimes thousands of dollars by internet contacts they thought were their friends or loved ones, said the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria. Internet scams are attempts by con artists to convince you to send them money. In Nigeria, these scams are also referred to as 419 scams. Uh, it noted that most common scams involved someone allegedly in Nigeria. So, yes, so I was right somewhat. Inevitably, the sender is making an appeal for money. If this is someone you have not met personally, we urge you to stop corresponding with whoever sent the message and please do not send any money to Nigeria, the embassy warned US citizens. Uh, Obiwane Invictus Okeke was sentenced to 10 years in prison for involvement in a computer-based intrusion fraud scheme that caused about $11 million in losses to his victims. Mr. Okeke had operated a group of companies known as Invictus Group based in Nigeria and elsewhere. From approximately 2015 to 2019, Okeke and others engaged in a conspiracy to conduct various computer-based frauds. Last Monday, Oyekanmi Oworu, Oyekanmi Oworu. So that name is a confluence between both Eastern and Western. Oyekanmi Oworu. So that's the name though. So last week, Oyekanmi Oworu was sentenced in March. Uh, last month, Oyekanmi Oworu was sentenced in March to 3 years in prison for conspiracy to commit bank fraud and aggravated identity theft. And Samson A. Oguntunyi was sentenced to 4 years imprisonment for conspiracy to commit bank fraud and mail fraud, bank fraud, and aggravated identity theft. In March 2021, Seun Ojedokun was jailed 9 years for money laundering conspiracy related to romance scam and other fraud schemes. In July, a U.S. court jailed Nigerian money laundering. In July, a U.S. court jailed Nigerian money launderer 38-year-old Olumide Bankole Morakinyo for engaging in a scheme that defrauded the Texas Employees Retirement system. Mr. Morakiyo, who resides in Canada, was sentenced to 8 years in prison and repayment of in excess of just under $1 million in restitution to multiple victims for conspiracy to commit money laundering. This defendant's scheme and those like it this defendant's scheme and those like it victimize our most vulnerable citizens and cost taxpayers billions of dollars each year, said U.S. Attorney Ashley Hoof. Our office will use all the available legal tools to identify and bring to justice those who commit cyber enabled fraud and launder the proceeds. Last November, two Nigerians, Opeyemi Abidemi Adeosho and Benjamin Adeleke Ifebajo, were sentenced to a combined 22 and a half years in prison. So they must have gone in really heavy, because the sentences are a lot lighter than that from what we have read so far. So last November, two Nigerians, Opeyemi Abidemi Adeosho and Benjamin Adeleke Ifebajo uh, were sentenced to a combined 22 and a half years in prison. A third co-conspirator, Temitope Aminat Folorunsho, who pleaded guilty in July 2020 to multiple counts of wire fraud, money laundering, use of false passport, and conspiracy, was sentenced in July 2021 to 37 months in prison. In November, two Nigerians arrested by the FBI were sentenced to 22 years to charges of wire fraud, money laundering, use of false passport, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. So there it is right there. So next time that you are in your wherever abroad, wherever, and people are calling you, let me take that off the screen. So next time that you are abroad and people are calling you a 419, then you know that it is your predecessors that have already laid the foundation for that assumption. So they say Nigerians, because we do live sessions, as some of you may know, on this platform, and somebody consistently asked that are Nigerians instinctually criminal? All the data will say yes, but what says you? So like, share, subscribe. Let me put that on the screen just as a reminder. So like, share, subscribe as I often encourage. So like, share, and subscribe, and then come share thoughts about this now piece of information that you've just heard. Over half, 61 point something percent. That is a significant amount of people. That is a significant percentage. 61 point something percent of Nigerians in American prisons are there for fraud. No other crime, just fraud. So are Nigerians instinctually fraudsters? Is it in our DNA? Come share thoughts about all this with me in the comment section. So I leave it there. Carry the conversation on with you in the comment section. But here, I say peace. And don't forget to subscribe.